When you think about it, it's actually quite impressive the magnitude of talent artists possess. The sheer ability to transform ideas from different sources of inspiration into works of art that owe a good chunk of people is no mean feat. The stories about their journeys in art are, however, the ultimate climax. That being said, let us now take a look at the story of this following artist. Enjoy! Most often than not, different encounters and experiences in the journey of artists shape what they paint and what they address through their art.
On this journey, from portraits to more expressive art, what happened was I got a commission to do portraits, and they were gifts for someone who was working in an organization for his fellow partners in the organization. So there were 15 of them. And he wanted them all to be themed on music, African American music. So as I was doing them, it struck a chord. I decided this is the path I want to follow. So most of the work has been themed, or rather it has been based on African musicians of note who've left a legacy behind, or who are still actually active. And I've been carrying the flag rather positively.
The artworks are the products of an intricate process that time and again commences with an idea that finds its way onto a drawing surface on which we then get to enjoy as art.
There's something I do a lot. I surf certain sites for photography and certain apps. Pinterest is one of them. Tumblr, I used to use Tumblr, and even the regular social media that you use, Instagram, Facebook. And I look for African music-based pages. And I came across this set of photos. There were about 5 or 6, and they were of Oliver Mtukudzi performing on stage. And from it, I could see a certain rhythm. But I didn't want to do it as a series of separate portraits. I decided, let me put it together. Then with time, I use different media. I use ballpoint pen, I use pencil, I use pastel, and I use oil paints. With time I started mixing them and trying to see what kind of effect I can come up with, because being based on biro and varying it, adding something like acrylic or pastel for the background, not many people have been doing that. People who do biro do just biro. So I decided, let me see if this can work. I was just trying. So I was using some of the media to create some texture in the background. Then the biro was what I did for the faces. And I mixed something also for the foreground. And I think I liked the effect, but I didn't know how good it was until I took it to the pop-up. That's when I got the reactions. One of the pieces of mine that was popular was a portrait of Oliver Mtukudzi. And the variation in the portrait was that he was performing on stage. There are 3 people performing on stage, but each was a portrait of Oliver Mtukudzi dancing or expressing himself in a different way. And the idea behind it was the kind of legacy he left behind. He left like a 3-part legacy. You know, he was a musical icon in Africa, Zimbabwe. He was a cultural icon in Zimbabwe, and he was also an activist, political, social. He used to speak to a lot of things happening within Zimbabwe. So yeah, for me, the significance was quite big. I had to portray it that way.
In a period when most artists are reinventing their understanding of our roots, Nzioka couldn't stress more on the importance of telling stories about African culture and heritage through art and tailoring the art to be African.
I think it's at the core of who we are. Our identity, if you look at most of the things that are thriving on the continent at the moment, or the things that are starting to come up, identity plays a major role. And where there's a loss of identity, there tends to be, you don't have longevity. But the things, if you look at the things that have longevity, even these artists that I'm using, the legacies they've left behind, is because they based it on African culture, their culture, the countries where they come from, their localities. And you can see, because it hits home, it's Your identity is something that you don't have to strive to live up to. I mean, being the way people say, I mean, the best thing you can do is to be yourself instead of copying others. I think at the moment we're already seeing that, and the interesting thing I've observed is the world market for art is actually responding to that. They actually want to see more African-themed artwork instead of people trying to, go with art movements or art trends that come from outside of Africa. There's more. People are embracing African art more in its state, as in without having to adjust or copy.
Nzioka appreciates how the industry has evolved to accommodate technology, especially social media, which has lessened the hassle of marketing and networking.
I started in the mid-2000s. That's when I started taking it seriously. I hadn't graduated from Nairobi University, and rather University of Nairobi. And I was doing it now, I mean, part-time. And at that time, any portrait artist or even any artist locally, if you were not in a gallery, the only other way to market your work was word of mouth from the quality of the work you've done for other clients. So eventually it started growing. And it was, so-and-so gave me your number, you did a very nice portrait of them, and I liked it, I want something similar. So that's how it grew. Then around 2008, I think at the beginning is when I first signed up to Facebook. And that's the first time I used social media. And now what happened was there wasn't an immediate change. But basically what someone does when they refer was just now sort of, the space was expanded. So instead of referring, their friends would actually see the portraits you've posted and would ask them about it, and with time you get more attention, and even if you don't get immediate orders, you get your reputation as an artist grows, and then you go to a point where you even now start getting orders from people who know you on Facebook but didn't know you were doing art.
The consumption of art locally is at an all-time high, either through purchases or through how the masses are being sensitized on the value of art, and these are days the artist looked forward to.
I think the most positive thing at the moment is Kenyans are not only appreciating Kenyan art more, there's actually a very deliberate push by some in the industry to educate the public on art. The media, the art establishment. There are now organizations, we are used to already the organizations that were helping to grow the creative economy. But now there are now organizations that are specializing in educating the public on art. They even do exhibitions, but they don't sell the art. They just educate the audience who come to the galleries, and teach the public about Kenyan artists and their work, and the history of Kenyan and also African art. So I think it's a good trend. It works well with the push to grow the economic benefits of art.
Our very own artists telling our own stories and preserving our rich African culture and heritage.